This is episode 13 with Cate Stillman.
The Entrepreneur Unleashed. The Entrepreneur Unleashed. The Entrepreneurs Unleashed. The podcast where purpose and passion become revenue streams. Be real. Take a stand. Change lives. Here's your host, Patty Keating.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Unleashed show. I'm your host, Patty Keating. Entrepreneurs everywhere are creating a new breed of business success. They're making their own rules, taking a stand for their purpose, leading through integrity, and making money by changing lives. Join me each week for compelling messages that will inspire and empower you to unleash your true purpose. Well, I am really thrilled to bring you today's guest. Her name is Cate Stillman, and she founded Yoga Healer in 2001. And the reason she founded it was to help yogas learn how to use Ayurveda to enhance their lives. And she offers really practical teachings for yoga people so they can kick up their personal and planetary wellness. Hey, Cate.
Hey, Patty.
Good to have you here. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah.
Hey, you're welcome. Tell us a little bit about Yoga Healer.
Well, it's changed a lot since 2001 in terms of all the stuff that I've got going on now. But it's interesting. The core message really hasn't changed. I'm teaching the same workshops I was teaching then in a much more expanded way. I basically do a lot around daily habits and the habits that are behind yoga, which are rooted in Ayurveda, which is the study of life, really is what it means, kind of like biology means in English. But the way that yoga philosophers or yogis or the Ayurvedic doctors or Vaidyas really see, the body and keeping ourselves healthy, but also waking up to our spiritual potential or enlightenment capacity is that we have 5 bodies. So we have a lot more to take care of. And I sense that a lot of people, who are listening to this probably have some sense of that. Like you have to take care of not just your physical body, but you also have to take care of your mind, especially in this age of hyper-stimulation and hyper-connectivity. And you have to take care of your spirit, meaning if you're not doing work that's on purpose, you'll start to feel depressed or overwhelmed or just disconnected. So in Ayurveda, what we do is we attune to this. And there's actually 2 others. There's the intuitive body, the pranic body. In the spiritual body, we also call that the bliss body. So it's interesting, this whole idea of like, how do we take really amazing care of ourselves? And when we do, we start to actually take better care of our ecosystem. So that's a lot of what Yoga Healer is based on.
So tell me how, what inspired you to start this business? How did this unfold for you?
Well, I think like most yoga teachers and holistic healers, I was an Ayurvedic practitioner and a yoga teacher. I just started practicing. But I also went online right away. I was living in San Francisco at the .com bust. And so there were a lot of web designers around, like in the very, very beginning of web design. And I posted on Craigslist that I wanted to trade for website stuff if anyone had back pain or needed a yoga teacher. And so this guy traded with me. And it was great. We used Dreamweaver. We got the first version of the site up in 2001. And I think because my dad was in technology and I was always tech friendly. And so what happened is teachers started to go online. I sort of followed suit. My first online course I took was with Sally Kempton, who's a very famous meditation teacher and yoga philosophy teacher. And as she was doing it, I was like, I could do this. And then I'm like, and I could do it better. Like not better than she teaches, but better with the technology. And so I did. And I taught my first living Ayurveda course when I was pregnant with my daughter in 2007. And it was amazing because I was pregnant and I was just really realizing what a capacity it was for her life and our family to be location independent. And so then I started to take all my courses like the Yogi Detox, which had been my biggest course. And I took that online right then as well. And it did really well. And then I started to make a lot of money. So then I started to teach yoga teachers and healers how to make more money. And then now it's evolved into, I also have a yoga health coaching certification course, which is a bit of a business course and a health coaching training course based in Ayurveda for yoga teachers to take their yoga students who are like, trying to make all these wellness breakthroughs, but they don't really have the capacity to work with their teachers in terms of diet and lifestyle changes. They just, they do more work like on the mat in the classroom. So that helps yoga teachers and their students really bridge the gap into the more, like the full package of how great they can feel. So it's always evolving and changing over time. But now I'm getting to a place where it's actually like, oh, this is the core curriculum is finally set, a full 12 years later.
You're reaching a lot of people now, though. How many students do you have in your programs?
It depends on the program. The Yogi Detox usually has 100 to 250, depending on how many yoga studios I bring in. And the Living Ayurveda course usually has 50 to 100. And some of the other courses are smaller, like the business course, we usually have about 40 to 50 in there at a time. And then, Healthier Hormones. I think now I can't remember how many members. We have well over 100 members in Healthier Hormones, which is a great course that I host with Dr. Claudia Welch. So there's, different numbers and different courses. We have the smallest numbers, like the most intimate group is definitely the Yoga Health Coaching certification. Yeah,
I've watched you grow like crazy since I met you.
I know, it really has. It is fun to remember back to when we met and like where things were. And things are, and yet it's been steady too. It's funny, I think when you and I came together, I really learned how to raise rates, change my sales process, and leverage what I was doing. And now I'm doing a lot more with systems and automation. It's so cool. My team's getting a lot more solid to doing a lot more work without me. And so I have time, which is like, I have time, which I haven't figured out how to use as efficiently yet, but it's all good.
So what major obstacles have shown up on the path?
I think not knowing how to run a business was a big one, doing everything myself. Even though I didn't, like I've always had interns. I've always had interns. Like I think when I moved to Idaho in 2002, back from San Francisco, I really believe in intern programs, especially in the healing arts, but I don't see why it doesn't apply to absolutely everything really, because there's these young people and they have time and they really need mentorship. I believe every human being needs a solid pack of mentors in their back pocket as they age and go through just through changes and growth in life, and someone to inspire them and also to tell them, how it is straight and make them work and do the harder work that'll pay off later. And so I had been an intern in a number of programs by the time I moved back to Idaho and decided to really make something of Yoga Healer. And so I went to my college. I went to a really good undergrad school, and I knew the kids there were super smart. So I hired an intern from there, and I did the next summer as well. So I've always been a big fan of outsourcing, or getting labor and like outsourcing different tasks. But I didn't start to really seriously study solopreneurship, micropreneurship. There wasn't as much on it. Even then, it wasn't like in the water and on Facebook as it is now. So that was hard because I was doing a lot, but I didn't, I just didn't do certain things. And it held me back. Like I didn't get a bookkeeper. I'm trying to remember when I got my first bookkeeper. It probably wasn't until 2009 or 2010. I mean, it's really, when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, that just hurts. And I didn't get that serious about looking how to leverage. And I didn't hire the best coaches for myself. I really tried to figure out way too much on my own, which, being resourceful is a good skill, but sometimes those of us who are naturally very resourceful can totally, just make more work for ourselves. And I definitely created some false obstacles. But, all that said, I'm a workaholic, so it hasn't been that hard. Whatever that means. I've always been so deeply passionate about what I'm doing and what I'm sharing. More than being a teacher, I'm a synthesizer. Like I synthesize mass amounts of information and make it really easy for other people to make it practical. And so, I don't know, for me, it's like to be like, oh my God, it's been hard and there's been all these obstacles. I'm like, oh my gosh, I live in Mexico where most people here that are my friends, I would not want to work their day job. And I've never had to. So I don't really, you know what I mean? I've had a good time of it and a blessed life. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yes. And you embrace challenge.
Yeah, I totally do. I totally do.
So how did you move through, all of the things that came up? Give us the sort of inside scoop on what it's like to be a synthesizer and come up, against a challenge and then get to the other side of it?
Yeah, sure. Well, I can give you I can give you two examples of ones that are going on right now. So I got to a point of having a lot more people in my courses and wanting to spend more time with them on the deeper work and less time with the little tiny things that come up. Like you and I both know that like on the other side of even the most automated course delivery, there's a lot of like little stupid things that happen, like a lot. There's a lot of little stupid things. Like I just got a bunch of emails that like, oh, these videos from Vimeo, which is one of a video host, they're not showing up right. And it's like, oh, of course they're not. And this happens all the time. It was YouTube last month where some videos weren't showing up right from YouTube. And it's like, okay, who's going to find the original files to update them? It's like, there's always things like that. There's always the little things that happen. And so I think just that I got to a point where I was like, I need and I had someone in customer service, but we just weren't organized. We didn't have streamlined systems and processes. We didn't have an overall documentation of every single thing that our business does, with screenshots and how-to manuals and all that for the team. And so now we're doing that. And I hired an online business manager to really be the interface between me and the team. And that was and all of this has actually been quite challenging because of the bridge of like, okay, how much do I want to invest in team to free me up to do what I really want to do? Or how much am I going to keep doing things the old way, which clearly aren't working? So whenever I hit a friction of like any sort of frustration, I really use that as an impetus to make change. And now, because I'd like to learn from my mistakes very actively, is like the first thing I do now is hire someone who really knows how to do it and can save me time. And I pay them a lot of money and they hold my hand, they walk me through it and it gets done.
Yes.
And so the other thing was I have this yoga health coaching certification program, and Tina Forsyth came out with how to create a certification program. And I called her and I was like, I already have one, but besides me and my students, like no one's really looked at this from the outside. Would you look at it as someone who trains people to make their own certification programs and answer all these, like, am I doing it right? Like, is there anything I'm really missing here? And just to have that opinion of a professional that's outside of my field is something I very, very value. So that's kind of, like those are the current challenges. And I'm already starting to get to the other sides of them. And I see, and it's definitely like, oh my gosh, wow, that's what my new reality looks like on the other side of these projects. And it's so, so different than my reality was in the past. And that's how I know I'm growing.
Exactly. And, it's challenging for entrepreneurs, especially smart entrepreneurs, to allow other people to help and to let go and give those things out and know that it's going to be better on the other side.
Yeah. Well, and I was raised a tightwad, and I wasn't, this is the thing for so many of us who are creatives. Like I'm definitely more, even though I'm super analytical, I'm still more of a, all my professional training is more on the yogi creative side than here's how much money you make. This is how much you should invest in training. This is how much you should invest in technology. This is how, so like I've been navigating that from a lot of money baggage places of just like, I should save. And I'm an awesome saver, which is really good because I've been able to invest in my business a lot from saving a lot. But in retrospect, I could have invested more earlier and it would have leveraged big time. So, I'm trying to use that and learn from that.
So what are you passionate about right now in your business and your life?
Well, in my business, I'm totally passionate about systems and processes.
I hear that.
Automating my growth. Like that's all I'm doing. That is like I hit some sales targets really early in the year and went way over. And I was like, great, now I cannot sell and just focus on automating more and more and cleaning things up, cleaning up all these processes so that everything will be more organized in the future. And we're redoing the website. The new site should be live in a week. So that's been a little time suck, but It's so much better. It's so exciting to be like, oh, my new house. I like my new house.
Oh, that's great. What's your vision for the next 5 years?
Well, it's interesting. I have some vision in terms of social impact, social change. I mean, I think for my for my company and the programs and in terms of studying Ayurveda or doing detox, or for women to go through healthier hormones, or for yoga teachers to work on their career and impact. Like that's all the, it's like that's the engine behind some of the larger social change interests that I have. And for all of that to continue to grow and be just these tight, wonderful experiences, programs for the people in them, like that's hugely important, because that's the whole foundation. And I love that. And it's nice to get it, just keep delivering even better experiences. But in terms of like where I think even more of the juice is, I have this t-shirt for yogahealer.com, and it's dandelions are the new kale. And one of my big, core messages is this message of inner and outer ecosystem, that as we start to really wake up to wanting to experience more vitality in our body, we start to feed ourselves better foods. We start to notice more that we're part of nature. We start to take better care of our yard. We stop wanting to spray Roundup on our yard to kill our dandelions, and we start realizing that that we're only as healthy as our planet is. We start to feel that really physically, not just as a cognitive concept, but really physically. And so this t-shirt, dandelions are the new kale, it's basically my tagline concept, that we can start to really notice that, like the weeds, even the invasive weeds, these plants that are spreading around the planet voraciously, a lot of them are edible. And they're all permaculture plants, meaning they go where our soil, where we've disturbed our soil, where humans have dug up the earth and ruined or disrupted the natural ecosystem and ruined the topsoil. And these plants come in, like the dandelions and the thistles, and they send these taproots well beneath where the topsoil plants could go, deep into the deep down. Like, some grow 5 feet down. Some have like little offshoots of taproots that grow 30 feet deep, and they pull the nutrients from beneath the disturbed crust up above, and they like take a plant like thistle or mullein, creates an enormous amount of foliage that then decomposes and creates the new layer of topsoil. So we have so much disturbed soil around the planet, and we have these weeds that are spreading everywhere, and we have the most county, local, national governments were spraying the weeds with pesticides. And we're polluting our water from spraying the weeds with pesticides. But these weeds are edible, and they have more nutrients than the kale at the grocery store. So what if we got smart and we simply learned that we can eat these plants, that these plants are trying to take care of us, these plants that might be weeds that are growing around our house, they're trying to take care of us. And as we start to take care of them and start to eat them, they start to take even better care of us. And we start to actually stop polluting the water and enter a whole other level, really, of consciousness that humans just don't, most humans by far just don't have right now. So that's really a lot of what I'm working on in the next 5 years.
That's amazing. I always love just chatting with you. You're so inspiring, and you bring so much truth out.
Oh, thanks, Patty.
You're welcome.
Well, and I want to tell you, too, that I've adopted your motto when you spoke with the Yoga Healer business course, and you said, my one of my mottos is, how easy can it be? And I have pulled so much from that. Whenever I feel like that it's too big a problem,
yes,
or it's too big a vision, or there's too much to do, or it's too hard to make systems and processes, so I have 6 courses running. Right? But I'm like, wait, how easy can it be? So I want to thank you for...
Oh, absolutely. That's a powerful question.
Really? Because it diffuses the contraction.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Oh, okay. So what's the best advice you've ever received, Cate?
Oh, well, I guess maybe that's it. I jumped the gun. Darn it. No, I really love that. How easy can it be? I also really love the message, which is really kind of it's a similar message from Gay Hendricks from his latest book, The Big Leap, about expansion. Because to me, this is it's such a basic teaching of yoga. In any yoga system, the first thing you do is relax and allow the breath to enter. So instead of just forcing more breath into your body, take a deep breath, it's no, first relax and let the breath start to come in and fill you up. So it's receptivity. So I like how Gay Hendricks says it, because he says, I expand in abundance, love, and success every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. And that sense of like, we can, and I've really been working with this. I mean, I feel like I've been working with it since I became an Ayurvedic practitioner and yoga teacher and through studies with teachers, but I've been just really more actively working with like, how can I expand no matter what's arising? And what I've noticed in that is this capacity building. I think a lot of us, probably most people listening here, like you are probably inspiring others and you're probably a leader. You're probably trying to step into more in your career and to realize that you're going to have to continually grow your capacities, right? And even like our children are going to have to grow their immune capacities because the world's going to get a little crazy, right? We're already seeing it. Just like, basically germs can spread more easily. They can be more vicious because of all the antibiotics and yada, yada goes on. We kind of get it, right? Like world's going to get probably more stressful. There's probably going to be more and more stimulation. There's just going to be a lot of a lot. And so if we get that, then how do we grow our capacity? Well, this most basic way is like learn how to continually expand.
Yes. That's good. Good advice. I love that book. We'll put that in the show notes so people can grab it. And by the way, the show notes will be at pattykeating.com/Cate Stillman. And Cate is spelled with a C. So if you're out and about right now listening to the podcast and you want to get back and tap into some of these resources we're sharing, Cate Stillman. Okay, so...
Oh, I'll also put the link to the dandelion t-shirt in there if anyone wants the dandelions or the new kale.
We'll put it on. I want that t-shirt. We'll put it on the show notes page so people can grab it.
Perfect.
So what personal growth have you experienced in this process?
To me, it's like and I'm sure this is true for a lot of us. It's like it's all wrapped up into one. Like I feel like I have no segmentation in my life. Like, ask my kid. Someone asked her, she's 6, and someone asked her last month, like, what's your mom's last name? Because we have different last names. She's like, .com. I was like, oh, God, what have I done? And so, like, for that whole, like, work-life balance separation thing, like, I don't experience that. But what I do experience is a tremendous amount of freedom in my lifestyle. So like this morning, for instance, like what have I been up to lately? I just got back from the Instigator experience in LA, which was amazing. Just a group of mostly, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, change makers, getting together to like basically take on the next level of capacity and connectedness and who knows what. And then I get back and have a lovely evening and get on and send my team some tasks because a lot of them are all over the world. So they work often at night while I sleep. And then this morning I got up and got to go surfing. We paddleboard surf, me and my husband, and we, go surfing and come back and I go to work. And we live on the coast in Mexico half the year. And we live in the mountains on the Idaho-Wyoming border, the other half. And so a lot of the personal growth that I've experienced is when you have a goal. And for me, the goal was to be location independent and to live an unconventional life doing whatever I wanted, more or less, while serving, all based on service. And then just moving towards that goal and then pressing the edge of like, well, what do we want to do now? And that question, even though it's a luxurious question to ask, and I'm so grateful that I have the luxury of being able to ask that. But I think we all have that luxury in different capacities. Right. So I even just spent some time at the Instigator experience with a woman who was in jail for 2 years. But she said, I had a choice about how I approached each day and what opportunity was available. And she's also a health coach, wellness provider. And she's like, I chose to be grateful for my experience and see what I could learn because I had time. Most people don't have time. I had time. So even those of us who are, feeling like we're in less fortunate circumstances, it's like, how can I choose to be more free and to do what I want to do? And one of the biggest things that I sense is like my family and I had to, I'm going to be extreme. We did not have to, but we felt compelled to move to Mexico because we felt like we were under so many of the assumptions in the United States of just what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to have, how you're supposed to educate your child, how you're supposed to work. And we just didn't want any of that. Anymore. We were like, okay, we get that. We got that message. We've lived that. Like, let's go figure out what we want. And so we decided to move down here and just kind of get away from that and just start to really discover what we wanted our lives to become. And that took some chutzpah.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Because people are like, what? You're moving to Mexico? What? Like they kidnap small, blonde, pretty children down there and they eat them. And, all this stuff. And you're like, oh my God. That's, I think, led to a lot of personal growth of just like really waking up and saying like, how can I serve and what do we want? And being really present with my family members and like what their needs and wants are and helping call each other into that is a lot of it's kind of what we do around here.
I love it. So what gadgets or tools do you use to support you in the lifestyle that you have?
Well, we just got some new paddle boards, which are really amazing. It's exciting because we kind of got good enough to get the shorter paddle boards that you can turn a lot more easily.
Oh, cool.
That was exciting because actually I do want to mention that too. Like one of the things that we realized living in Idaho is that if we were ever going to get better at surfing, we better move to the ocean.
Idaho's not the place to do it.
Idaho's not the place to do it. I use some funny things. Like I use a waterproof iPod so that I can take lessons while I'm swimming or surfing.
Uh-huh.
I'm a huge multitasker, even though I know I'm not supposed to be. but for me, that's actually been huge because I consume an enormous amount of content compared to most people.
Uh-huh.
That's been huge. And then, I use the typical stuff, like the MacBook Pro and the iPhone and the iPad. Are you talking software too?
Sure, whatever. Anything you want to share.
For tools, yeah. Other tools I use a Vitamix. Like I'm connected to my hip with my Vitamix, so I can blend my fruits and vegetables. That's been
your dandelions.
I can blend my dandelions and my thistles and my nettles and all that. Yeah, like software. I think I'm kind of typical. I use Infusionsoft. I use Lead Pages. It's funny. It's like, what is typical anymore? One thing I've been having so much fun with, this is actually a lot more fun to talk about. I've been using my Wacom tablet.
I don't know about that. Tell me.
It's a drawing tablet, and I use that with a free software, Sketchbook Express. And because a lot of what I do is teach, whether it's teaching business stuff to yoga teachers and healers, or whether it's teaching coaching techniques to yoga teachers or Ayurveda to people who love yoga. And so I'm teaching things like, say, with like my yoga students, and I'm teaching Ayurveda, and I'm teaching the teachers how to see how energy moves in bodies in the yoga classroom. And now I can draw these stick figures and talk and make, because I don't draw well, but I can draw and communicate visually. And I also have a book called The Doodle Revolution, which is teaching me how to draw and communicate visually better. And so I do these, and my students freaking love them. They're like, doodle more for us, like draw and talk more, because I can communicate so much more that way than just with a PowerPoint presentation.
Yes.
They love it as I'm drawing through. And it's cool because with Sketchbook Express, there's layers. So it's like, you can hide stuff and then you can bring it back up. So you can have 6 layers to anything. So when you're teaching, you can go back to a concept and erase everything else in like a click and then bring it back all up in a click. It's so fun.
Oh, I'm going to have fun checking that one out.
Yeah, that's a good one. The Wacom tablet. Super, super fun.
Okay, what about resources for the mind? A book? You mentioned Gay Hendricks, and we'll put that in the show notes as well. Podcasts, blogs. What do you recommend?
Well, I really do. So I just got back from Srini Rao's, from his group and our group with that. And that is Unmistakably Creative. And that's a podcast. He has over 400 episodes. It was amazing. And it's all, thought leaders, mostly entrepreneurial, like how you're going to make a difference and make a living. So yeah, I love that. A new book I just picked up that I'm really excited about is Thanks for the Feedback, Douglas Stone and Sheila Heen. And this is the science and art of receiving feedback well. And I think anyone out there that's doing stuff like you and I do, Patty, which is like basically teach and coach and mentor, it's like we're getting feedback all the time at how to do a better job. And this book, I'm just psyched that they wrote a book on, and these two are from Harvard, about how to really see feedback coming from everywhere and use it. And I love their subtitle, even when it is off base, unfair, poorly delivered, and frankly, you're not in the mood. Oh, so I totally love that. For people that are interested in waking up and, spiritually, the book Evolutionaries, I think is a must read for anyone who's, an entrepreneur on the spiritual path. I think that's a huge, huge book. Yeah.
Great recommendations.
Oh, and then I could keep going. I'm like the biggest reader. Also, The Art of Possibility.
Uh-huh.
That book is totally amazing, by the Xanders. And that was actually written years ago, but that's another one, especially for anyone who has a lot of limitation in their consciousness.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's go roll it all the way back. If you were to do this all over, what would you tell your younger self?
I would trust myself, and I would have more fun. I would spend more money by investing in better coaches and mentors. Yeah, those are the biggest ones. And I would tell myself, it's like, yeah, that trust thing's huge. Like, it's going to work out. Because I was working so hard. And I know a lot of people out there are like that. Like, if your problem is that you're lazy, like, whatever, I have no advice for you. Because, like, it's probably not going to work. Right? But if your problem is, like, you're working a lot, but you're kind of worried about where things are going. Like, if you're working hard and you're integrating feedback, like, then just let that, don't do the worry thing. Replace the worry with the expansion. And it's like that. The worry is just a mindset issue. It's not real.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Thank you so much, Cate. You're such an example of our motto, be real, definitely. Take a stand. You've done that. And change lives. You're doing it. So thank you so much for sharing your journey on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Hey, yeah, thanks. And thanks for making it all that much easier, Patty.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Entrepreneur Unleashed Show. If you did, please go to pattykeating.com and let me know what you're up to this year in your business. While you're there, be sure to grab your copy of 5 Quick Ways to Share Your Expertise.